Good morning, Cayman, and welcome to Radio Cayman's Business Buzz. It's a pleasure to be in studio with you, and I take this moment to tell people to let's keep our faith, definitely. And if everything that we're about to face when it's not earthquakes, it's just dealing with family challenges, it's much bigger. And then we got this COVID-19 that we're dealing with. But we continue to plow along in faith and walk in with his guidance. And that's why we're here with you today. In this segment, we are pleased to put the spotlight and hear more from the Department of Children and Family Services. And the Business Buzz is proudly sponsored by Cayman Insurance Center, Count on Us Cayman Limited, and Cayman Medical Supplies. I'm pleased to be joined by social worker, adoption and fostering team, Miss Emma Evans, and she's also joining me in studio by Miss Anna K. Miller, social worker attached with the Family Services. Ladies, good morning, and it's a pleasure to have you here.
Good morning.
Now, we plan to cover a variety of topics this morning, and but before going into this, and I'm quite sure we will incorporate in our discussions, how COVID-19 impacts and what challenges this department may face in light of what is unfolding. This is definitely uncharted territory for all of us, and we know that we all have to exercise caution and patience as we move along, literally hour by hour. But before going into that, please tell us about the whole mission of the DCFS and the core responsibilities.
So the Department of Children and Family Services protects, promotes the rights of children, their welfare, their families through, preventative services, intervention, education, and it creates that family bond.
What is it like then to have a career in this line of work?
Well, I don't want to age myself, but I've been doing social work now for about 11 or 12 years. No day is the same.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. I always say, social work is not a 9-to-5 job.
Mm-hmm.
There's always some challenges, but it's good.
It's definitely a vocation. It's stressful. It's heartbreaking at times. But the sense of accomplishment and just fulfillment that you get from working with vulnerable people and children, there's nothing like it.
Yeah.
Now, what are some of the principles of social work?
So we, as an organization, we have that 9 guides where it's actually the acronym principles. So we're going to go for P is protection, R is for review, I is for intervention, N is for normalization, C is for communication, I is for intelligence, P is for participation, L is for localization, and E is for evaluation. And we live by this through our organization.
Now, go ahead, sorry.
Oh, sorry, I was just going to say, it's a very ethically based profession as well. And, within that, a good social worker, so to speak, is non-judgmental, patient.
Patience is a lot,
Patience is very important. Because we're working with people from all different walks of life, so they might not be kind of, acting within the law at times. They might be abusing the children, or then there might just be other social issues involved which go against our own kind of personal moral code, if you like. So I think as a professional working in this field, you need to be able to separate yourself from your own personal feelings at times.
Yeah. Sometimes people in your positions, in your departments, being so closely involved with other persons that it almost appears as though you're not humans yourself.
Yes.
And you literally have to be able to separate, what you rightfully said, Emma, your own personal feelings. It doesn't matter if you wake up on the wrong side of the bed. You still gotta go.
Face.
Exactly.
It's kind of hard, because being in Cayman, it's small, so you're going to bunks into people a lot, and it's going to be like, hey, or I didn't get this, or I need this, and it's like, okay, let me just make sure that you're taken care of. Once you're taken care of, then our problems are set.
And that was a big difference for me coming from the UK, where I would never see
interact.
people. I'd never see anyone that I worked with coming to a very small island, and then bumping into them at Foster's or on the street.
Yeah. Welcome to Cayman.
Yeah.
What do you prefer?
I like the small community.
Yeah, I don't mind.
I do like the small community. I think it can be difficult at times because people want to talk to you when they see you about things,
Right.
and then it can be difficult to try and maintain that work-life balance because that is so important. We're dealing with very upsetting, stressful situations at times, so I think as being a social worker, we need to take time for ourselves.
And I think create that boundary as well too. So if, for example, if they see you in fosters, you're like, hey man, check me at the office. Kind of doing something right now, but check me at the office, you know.
And it's really hard to do that
Yes.
sometimes because your understanding of possibly knowing their cases,
Yeah.
to try and separate the two, and what some may perceive as just one simple question can lead into a plethora of things.
Yeah.
And there's the issue of confidentiality as well. I mean, I think sometimes people just want to get something off the chest when they see you, not thinking, oh, well, there might be ears about.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, yeah, the boundaries are really, really important.
Now, what are the different areas of social workers?
So social workers can range from, I think, clinical all the way to like research. So there's always a plethora of anything.
So, again, not to age myself, I've been in this job a long time. In my experience in the UK, I've worked with older people, children with physical and learning disabilities, children leaving care, vulnerable adults, mental health hospitals. Any type of person with a need, you will get a social worker. Here, we're still developing our services, and was it last year that we got the older people's team with regards to the implementation of the law, the older people's law? So we're still developing, and we're only going to keep developing, I think, as Cayman grows, as the population grows, as people's needs increase.
Exactly. Now, what are some accomplishments to date of DCFS?
So some of the accomplishments are that our new location.
And it's beautiful.
It's very nice. We've moved to the Apollo House East on 2nd floor. So you can come by and check it out after COVID. We've established a new team, as Emma said, the elderly services team. So we have about family service, youth, multi-agency safeguarding hub, and and elderly services. We're leaning more to a specialist type of practice versus generalist. So that's why we've established the teams, so that we can then work efficiently and productively as well. And also having children finding their voice as well in regards to the children's law. So that's a big accomplishment too.
Now, I know prior to COVID-19, talk to us about what was planned or in store for a Social Work Month, and this had to be postponed because of this.
Sadly, yes. We still don't have any dates as to when we will be rearranging, but
what was proposed to happen at this through this month?
We had some activities going on.
Lots of activities.
And even had like a nice gala at the end. But, as we have to put other needs before our needs.
That's it. And some of the activities would have been, as we've had in previous years, like Snuggle and Read. I know my team were planning on having an open day at the Turtle Centre. Unfortunately, given COVID, we're going to have to, like I was saying, put the brakes on a little bit, but we're looking forward to arranging it for later in the year.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to crisis intervention, I would imagine that there are certain techniques and protocols that should be followed. Can you just speak a little bit on those?
So in regards to crisis intervention, since 2017, the MASH, which is the Multi-Agency Safeguarding Hub, that's with social workers and police FSU unit, they've worked together in regards to helping vulnerable kids who have been sexually or physically abused. So in that sense, we are working in that range.
So what would usually happen with the MASH is that members of the public or professionals, if they have any concerns about any type of abuse, can make a referral through to the MASH team. It will then be triaged by a social worker and a police officer, and then investigated or not, depending on what they've found out. And it could be allocated to a social worker from there.
So kind of look at it as maybe like an ER or a hospital. MASH would be like the ER section, and then DCFS would be more like the long-term general public.
Yeah. And then with, I think, speaking for both of us, we do crisis intervention on a near daily basis.
Yes.
When working with people, things crop up. And that's where we would usually step in. And I think the way we work, it's very person-centred. The most important thing that we do on a day-to-day basis is make sure people are safe, make sure children are safe, make sure adults are safe. And we do what we need to do to make that happen.
Yeah, that's our main focus.
Now, with the key thing, and it's really just got everybody, the entire world, pretty much on lockdown, how has COVID-19 changed or put any additional strains and challenges on the way social workers carry out their duties, understanding that it's one thing in trying to get through this containment phase, lockdown, but then what could happen even post when we come out on the other end? You mentioned that you deal with children and families, and you know what your mission is. Whilst possibly in self-isolation, staggered work hours, to keep your brain juices going, we're going to have to know how we're going to deal with it, with life on the other end, understanding that we are embarking on some things we're not used to, having our mobility pretty much controlled in everybody's best interest, to not move out, go around, just to exhale. Some people are even scared. Their allergies are acting up, how they're being perceived.
Yeah.
So how we deal in your jobs, knowing how involved it is, going into people's personal spaces, what has this done for your department and the workers that are out in the fields?
And I think globally this is unprecedented territory. I think every business, every health and social care professional around the world are trying to work out the best way.
There's no manual.
No,
there is no script.
We're all figuring it out as we go along.
It's not even in a book like section 2.
No,
page.
there's nothing.
And a big issue for us professionals who work with people is the social distancing.
Yes.
A lot of our work is face-to-face. A lot of our work is going into people's homes and laying eyes on people. I know within my team, how we're managing it at the minute is by doing Skype, kind of video calls, so we can still talk to people. Obviously, if there is an imminent risk to a child, we need to
act immediately
and revisit that. So yeah, the contact thing's really difficult. I think we need to be mindful as well that families are being together for long periods of time that
we're not used to. That's sad to say, but it's the truth.
Tempers are going to flare. Everyone's really anxious at the minute. I'm thinking about domestic violence within homes as well. We're probably going to see an increase in that.
Now, is there like a hotline in the event that these things pop up in the middle of life as we know it now? Pretty much stay indoors, stay away, keep to yourself. If someone is aware that there could be some issues, especially when there's a child, is there a hotline? Are there numbers that persons can call if they need assistance?
I think with our office, you can just call 949-0290. Again, that's 949-0290. And
if I was going to say, if it's out of hours, call the police.
Yeah.
Call the police if it's out of hours. What they will do is then forward it on to the on-call social worker. We work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So yeah, first instance out of hours or on a weekend would be to call the police.
Okay. You're in tune to Radio Cayman's Business Buzz. I'm your host, Sabrina Turner, and our topic this morning in our segment is we put the spotlight on the Department of Children and Family Services, joined by Miss Emma Evans and Miss Anna K. Miller. Keep it locked right here for the Business Buzz for more after these few messages. Welcome back to the Business Buzz right here on Radio Cayman. I'm your host, Sabrina Turner, as we hear more from the Department of Children and Family Services. And joining me in studio is Ms. Emma Evans and Ms. Anna K. Miller. Now, did you know, according to Forbes magazine, social work supervisors rank 7 on the list of most meaningful occupations? Now, pursuing this career path can provide added job satisfaction and a sense of purpose for social workers while allowing them to do the most good for their clients and for their families. And these two ladies have definitely said that, despite them having to separate their own personal lives, there is a sense of accomplishment and fulfillment in doing their jobs. Now, just before those commercial breaks, we went into what protection you give to your children or to a child as a whole. But I'll allow you all, both of you, to expound a little bit on what is a social worker's role in child protection. Not both of you, just.
So, our main role is to keep the child safe. We do that by conducting a thorough investigation, and we will do that in conjunction with other professionals working around the child. So that would be school or preschool professionals, that would be working with the family, that would be the police. And the purpose of the investigation and the assessment is to gather all the information that we can. After we've done that, we discuss it with our managers, and then a decision needs to be taken. Can we work with this family safely? Can we keep the child safe within this family through interventions, which would be therapy and family resource centre are fantastic with the courses that they do.
Yeah, on course as well too.
Yeah, there's Aspire, the Wellness Centre. There's some fabulous people out on island with a lot of skills who can help work with families. What
I think sometimes, I don't want the public to think that as a social worker we're just here to take children.
Absolutely not. No.
We don't want that, and we try our best. If that should be like the last resort.
Very last resort.
Yeah, so we try to work with families in that sense, like Emma said, and we try our best every time to make sure that the kids are first priority.
And research would indicate that it is better for the child to remain within the family, which would...
Or family members.
And what we're looking for is good enough parenting. You don't need to be Mother Teresa with children or anything. It's good enough parenting. We need to be assured that the child is not going to be put at risk or harm. Unfortunately, in some situations, we can't keep children safe within the family home for whatever reason, whether there's addictions, whether there's high levels of domestic violence, whether there's been abuse, or the parents just aren't in a position to engage in interventions. At that point, that would be when we take the case to court, and the judge would make a decision as to whether the child needs to be removed and placed on a care order, or sometimes we can do it voluntarily.
Voluntary. Yeah. So with voluntary, you don't really need that.
The court, because the parent is saying
consensual.
Consensual.
Now, what are some ways children cope with adversity to develop competence and skills under difficult circumstances that you've seen?
Children, on the whole, are very resilient things. They take everything in the stride and adapt. They're very adaptable.
They're capable of extraordinary things, trust me. Yeah. And we try to allow them to be resilient in just making sure that don't worry about this. You may fall at this stage in your life, but we're here to help you, so just keep pushing and continue.
The most important thing for children in order to develop that resilience is having a safe base.
Right.
Feeling safe and secure within the home with the primary caregivers, having the ability to communicate about their fears and anxieties, and feeling loved. So that it's all these kind of like building blocks that children have, which then helps them to develop the skills to to deal with adversities in life.
And I welcome both of your thoughts on children being told to stay at home just because they don't have a choice, understanding that their home is not necessarily a healthy place or safe place emotionally or physically. It's like those kids don't have a voice.
Mm-hmm. So children are important to our society, as I said before, and they should be protected at all times. The standard procedure of DCFS is that if a child is at risk or experiencing emotional or physical harm, then we have to act in accordance. A parent or a person in the community may report an issue or contact the department, and then we have to follow up, in which we'll do our investigations and etc.
Now, how can we generally reduce the risk and threat of children's development and increase positive adaptation through resilience building intervention?
I think it all stems from providing that child that safe base with which to explore the world from. If a child knows its parent or its primary caregiver is going to protect them and keep them safe, then it makes it easier for them to deal with the uncertainties and unsafeness in the world, because they know they're always going to be able to come back to the adult in their life to protect them. When they don't have that, that's when we start seeing challenges with kind of the developmental, and we see trauma appearing.
I'm quite sure we've all been to school, and there's always been a teacher or teachers that we've actually bonded with. And
definitely,
it doesn't matter how old we are.
When you see them,
exactly, it's like your surrogate parent.
Yeah,
I that's something again where I think comes out of it takes a village to raise a child, and that in our small community remains today. I was at at the optical store a couple days ago, and there was a young man in there who I recognized, and even though he's now an adult, all I saw was that kid from Red Bay Primary School, middle school, then, picking him up and dropping him off to school. And social distance just broke that up. But he literally wanted to just run, and I had to say, social distance, please.
Yeah, but that's Cayman.
Exactly.
We're used to that, but we have to practice.
But as a young man, obviously, what the look on his face was like, wow, I see mom.
Yeah.
And I had to just break that thanks to COVID. So this is what we can do for children, even going through your services. And
definitely. And I think now more than ever that's so important, that sentiment of it takes a village to raise a child.
Yes.
I think when we as humans are in times of dire need, like we
now.
are, globally, we can't survive on our own.
No.
So we need to be checking on family members, on neighbours, on friends.
Yeah.
And thank goodness for technology and FaceTime and things like that, because at least that's a little bit more connectedness by seeing someone.
Keep you sane.
And for those older ones who aren't techno savvy,
then we go on our front porch and
exactly.
in the backyard and start singing.
You're right.
Start singing. Now, what advice would you offer parents who can't afford to take off from work, even though their children are off from school? And, right now, I'm quite sure this will shift in light of what we're dealing with changing on a daily basis. How can parents really keep that connection and not make it be robotic? Because we can be in the home and not be there because we're even tied to our devices.
And that's a very good point, actually. So even when people are working from home, as most of us are now, we are tied to our devices. And that's a big issue, I think, that we're going to see in maybe 10, 15 years with this generation of children growing up, is that I think as family units, we're struggling to communicate now because
I don't think no one sits at the dining table anymore. It's just like decoration. So it's mostly like we have to put down the phones now, get interactive. Like, how was your day? Did you do anything exciting? That can then build their vocabulary,
And it's taking enjoyment with each other, doing little things like drawing pictures, artwork. Like you're saying, singing. little things like that mean the most to children.
You don't want to grow up and just saying, well, my mom didn't play with me or I didn't do anything. Because with our culture as well, too, we love telling stories. So at least that interaction can be great.
And play is extremely therapeutic for a developing child. It's the things it does for the brain is quite wonderful, and the things it teaches, so it's so important.
Now, I've listened to both of you respond to these questions posed, and for the amount of times I've heard interaction, be it through our smart devices or even with those who are in our immediate confines of home that we will love, actually. But look at the silver lining of all that is about to unfold or is unfolding on a daily basis. We used to get angry. We were dreamed before we could come into work because we were dealing with traffic.
Oh, yes.
We didn't have time. You were pretty much grabbing a piece of your bagel or your sandwich at your desk.
And out the door.
You were wondering whether or not there would be a good time for a good home-cooked meal. Some of us were only able to do that on Sundays. On top of that, it was ironing clothes for school the next day, or ironing your own clothes, or just tidying up your house. And now we have an opportunity to get all of that back.
Yes.
This is where we need to include those kids or spouses or significant others who are within our personal space. If you don't even know how to do a salt beef rundown,
or create a chore chart.
Exactly. No,
you get $2
don't look at it as
or
work. It's just we're gonna be surrounded with food, healthy choices. But for example, that good old salt beef rundown. Have one do the potatoes and the cassava. Have the other one prep the coconut milk. Have that one responsibility.
Or if they're not that savvy, have someone wash up.
Exactly.
But these are all life skills.
Yeah.
These are all life skills that maybe we,
measurements.
We're so busy on a day-to-day basis that I remember my favourite memories of being a child was learning to bake cakes with my mum and my grandma, and it was just that one-to-one time, or my brother might have been there, but just having that interaction and that eye contact. I can still make those cakes now.
Yeah.
And
you go back to those days, right? But this is where we all can share our part, because we are going to be isolated. We are already isolated, some by choice, some by mandatory because of the what laws have been instituted and enacted. But this is what you have to keep the structure of your home together. And at the end of the day, healthy mentally.
And Alex Panton Foundation are doing some really great virtual online workshops. You can get the link through Facebook and I think on the website, specifically dealing with the mental health aspect.
Right. Now, is social work looked at by society as predominantly as a female profession? What would you say to that?
Yes, I think social work is viewed as a very fluffy, soft touch profession. I'm not sure why so many women go into it.
Not that men are not nurturing, but
I think, yes, it has that stereotype of being female dominating, but we don't want to limit it to being female. We're going to invite the men, the public. If you're interested in social work and if you do have that degree, just come on.
Or UCCI are doing a course on Ireland, so
there is an option there.
And men bring a lot to the table as well in this profession. We work with all different types of people. So we need both genders. We need people from all different walks of life.
And it's good that the young men who are clients can see that as an example as well too, and relate, like you said.
And I think that's a common, with the nurturing. We are nurturing. But I think people sometimes don't understand the kind of level of work that we do, and like we were talking about before with the boundaries, the hardness, the level of analysis. It's not all about giving kids hugs and things. It's quite a complex job.
Sometimes you have to really work on their psyche, and it's very hard at times, but you still have to make sure that they are doing okay.
Yeah, and it's a social science. It's a research-led profession as well. So,
now, where do you think the field of social work is heading? Let's say in the next 5 years.
We're being optimistic
It's
here.
very difficult to predict where we're going to be in 5 years, but I think once people have social and family problems, we'll continue to intervene and make sure that they are being helped.
You guys will be relied on as the happy medium.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see
What
unfolds after this globally. Sadly, there's always going to be need for social workers in society, and as the economy is likely to be affected by this, and people get more stressed out, they have less money. There's when our profession tends to step in more.
I think once people have problems, we are always going to be in work.
Now, what could you tell people now? We're in such uncharted territory that a lot of people who rely on you, for instance, social support, that don't have them. What would you say to give them that sense of comfort?
Well, we're all in this together. We're all in this together.
We do have like your formal contacts, informal contacts as well too with our department, FRC. You can contact them by phone. Just even checking up on your family members as older persons as well too, just to make sure that you have that support to say, hey, I'm here for you. Just let me know if you need anything, but still practicing social distancing.
Yeah, make the most of technology if you can. And if, like you say, with older people, they don't have iPads or tablets, just pop your head into the porch, into the yard. How are you doing?
Yeah.
I mean, something I've noticed is that people are so much better at keeping in touch now.
Oh, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
They're responding to emails.
Yeah, and it's in
Checking
real
in.
time as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's so important. It's so important just to make people remember that we are all in this together and we're thinking about each other.
Now, what are the main points you'd like to both leave with our listening audience this morning from the Department of Children and Family Services perspective? Takeaway points.
Again, I'm going to say we're all in this together. It's normal to feel anxious. We're in unprecedented times. Reach out if you need support.
Yeah.
I'm sure the government has just started up a mental health
hotline. There's a hotline,
mental
health hotline.
So and don't feel any shame or stigma about this.
Yes.
This is worrying for everyone. Take support where you need it. Reach out to people, and this will pass.
I think the more we talk about it as well, the more normalized it will be, so that no one can feel scared or anything. But we're here to help.
And I think there's a sense of respect, even when you look at the pressure our leaders are under right now. And people are wanting answers. Appreciation cannot be extended enough. Words can't even be found for all of those persons who are in the medical profession.
Yes.
I mean, this is a global, but for the uniqueness in our jurisdiction in the Cayman Islands, the relationships, as you rightly say, comparison to the UK and here, where we all know each other, either neighborly or family. Or by extension of relationships, the respect has to go out for the people in our medical profession, especially.
Definitely.
They're definitely on the front lines when you look at the pressures that our leaders are placed under to give answers, and we want it now, and to change perception. And I don't know why they're taking so long. We have to show respect
and just a little
appreciation
patience.
And patience, because at the end of the day, we're all human.
And government, this is new for every government.
Every
government.
Everyone.
And they're doing the best.
Yes.
They are doing the best. Just another point, if with the parents having to homeschool, not to get too anxious about that either.
Yeah, I think
just concentrate on each other.
This is where the appreciation for teachers comes in a lot.
It's appreciation for a lot. Trust me, that will be just highlighted.
Yeah, because you're spending a lot of time with your kids now, and you're knowing, like, okay, what is their strengths, what's their weakness. If they aren't able to do like online classes with you can look in their books and see what they've been doing throughout the semester. Set some worksheets for them.
And just a little humor.
But yeah. And if they're not in a position, I'm just thinking as well, because a lot of children and young people will be picking up on their parents' anxieties.
Yes, yes.
Make them feel safe. If they want to cuddle, sit and have a cuddle. You don't worry too much about getting all that work done right now.
And maybe for the first time, you will see exactly who you're sending to school.
Oh, wow. You said it, not me.
It is what it is. Ladies, it has indeed been a pleasure. And thank you for sharing with us and coming out. We've practiced our social distance as best as we can based on the space. And definitely we want to thank all of our viewing and listening audience for tuning into Radio Cayman's Business Buzz. To you, please be safe and continue the great works that your department is doing in your team.
Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure. The Business Buzz every Tuesday and Thursday is proudly sponsored by Cayman Insurance Center. And count on us, Cayman Limited, along with Cayman Medical Supplies. We want to thank our producer, Susan, and for her great works that she continues to do, even whilst on vacation, ladies and gentlemen. And Joelle, who's manning the boards for me this morning. Until Thursday, unless there anything else change, have a safe and fabulous Tuesday.